You're watching this when you should be thinking about something important. Have you noticed that? The very structure of your day has been reorganized so that deep thought has become a luxury, not a necessity. It's no accident. The entertainment industry has discovered that an entertained mind is a controlled mind. And the brilliant thing is that no one feels trapped. You're not being locked in a digital chain. You're choosing to enter it with every scroll, every click, every video that's just one more. Mediocrity didn't take over by chance. It was cultivated, refined, and packaged as if it were the peak of civilization. Welcome to the collapse of collective intelligence, a collapse you fund with your attention every day. History teaches us that every civilization has an aesthetic ceiling. What is considered beautiful, refined, and worthy of consumption has defined entire eras. Ancient Greece had its standards, the Renaissance had theirs. Each period kept a line, even if thin, separating what deserved to be seen from what deserved to be forgotten. Today, that line has disappeared. It wasn't abruptly demolished, it was slowly dissolved, until no one could distinguish when the fall began. Modern entertainment functions as a factory for normalizing the vulgar. What would have been laughed at a few years ago, the glorification of emptiness, the celebration of ignorance, the exaltation of the superficial, has become mainstream. And here's the crucial point. This is not a technological accident or a side effect of the internet. It's an architected process, where every algorithm, every recommendation, every reward system is designed to push you deeper in the opposite direction of critical thinking. The ugly has not only become acceptable, it has become aspirational. The more grotesque, the more absurd, the more devoid of any meaningful content, the greater the engagement. The numbers don't lie. A video of someone feigning ignorance gets more views than a documentary about history. A person replicating empty memes gets more followers than an articulate thinker. The market has spoken, and the message is crystal clear. Bad wins because it pays more. Schopenhauer observed that man can do what he wants, but he cannot want what he wants. Today we could expand this reflection. Man consumes what the algorithm offers, and cannot want something different because it was never presented as an option. The illusion of choice is so perfect that you believe you are freely selecting when, in reality, you are browsing a menu that was prepared for you. A menu that offers only variations of the same garbage. The result is a generation that no longer recognizes the difference between entertainment and brutalization. What would once be shameful is now displayed. What would once be considered degrading is now monetized. Trash culture has not conquered the planet because people suddenly lost their good taste. It conquered because it was structured to be more profitable, easier to consume, and more addictive than any alternative offered. And while you consume, mediocrity consolidates itself as the new civilizational standard, not because it is good, but because it is the only menu available on the screen you never turn off. The neurobiology of pleasure is one of the most powerful tools ever discovered. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for the sensation of reward, does not distinguish between legitimate pleasure and manufactured pleasure. For your brain, it doesn't matter if you're laughing at something genuinely funny or something deliberately idiotic. The neuronal firing pattern is practically identical. The entertainment industry has learned this. Recommendation algorithms function as neurobiological engineers. They study your consumption patterns, measure exactly how long you stay on each piece of content, calculate what type of stimulus generates the greatest dopamine spike in you specifically, and then offer a sequence of progressively more refined rewards. It's an operant conditioning mechanism, the same one Skinner used in his experiments with pigeons, applied on a planetary scale. The brilliance of this strategy lies in its subtlety. You don't feel like you're being manipulated, because the manipulation is done through pleasure. Ancient slavery used visible chains. Modern slavery uses invisible dopamine. You return to the platform not because you were forced, but because you were rewarded. And the reward is so predictable that your brain begins to anticipate it. The addiction is not physical, it's neurological, and it's perfectly legal. Meanwhile, the cognitive abilities that require deferred dopamine, deep concentration, complex reading, prolonged critical thinking, become atrophied. Your brain is literally being reconditioned to demand instant gratification. A 15-second video offers more dopamine per unit of time than a 300-page book. The math is too simple to ignore. Nietzsche wrote, "We have art so that we may not die of the truth." But what happens when art is replaced by garbage? When fun becomes not a refuge from reality, but a permanent anesthesia? Modern entertainment does not offer a momentary escape from reality. It offers a lifetime of sleeping. The person wakes up, consumes entertainment, works to finance more entertainment, sleeps and repeats. The dopaminized mind is a captured mind, and the capture is so comfortable that liberation seems like a punishment. Distraction has become the most sophisticated form of control ever invented, not because someone is explicitly controlling you from a dark room, but because the system itself was designed for you to control yourself. You keep yourself trapped because the prison is comfortable, and every day as you scroll through the screen, your brain becomes a little less capable of thinking for itself, a little more dependent on the next stimulus, a little more enslaved to the pattern that was installed in you without you noticing even the mechanisms of your own capture. There is a fundamental difference between personal taste and the collapse of standards. Personal taste is subjective. You may prefer one type of art over another, and that is absolutely legitimate. But when the collective ability to distinguish quality from garbage disappears, we are no longer talking about preference. We are talking about a society that has lost its evaluation criteria. This did not happen because the masses suddenly began to prefer mediocrity. It happened because the selection mechanisms were reversed. Previously, for something to achieve broad visibility, it needed to pass through filters, critics, editors, curators, institutions. These filters were not perfect, but they created some barrier between the bad and the widespread. Today, these filters have been removed. The algorithm does not select quality, it selects engagement. And engagement is generated by the extreme, by the grotesque, by what takes the person out of boredom, not by what elevates. The more superficial, the more people can understand quickly. The more vulgar, the more hasty emotional reactions. The more idiotic, the more shareable. The system rewards exactly what degrades collective intelligence, and worse, it transforms this degradation into a metric of success. A content creator who delivers complex and nuanced thought will be brought down in the algorithms by someone who shouts nonsense with accelerated editing. The result is a complete inversion of aesthetic values. The aesthetics of stupidity is no longer a deviation, it's the standard. The more refined and intelligent, the more marginalized. The more grotesque and absurd, the more central. Art has stopped elevating because elevation doesn't pay the algorithm's bills. Culture has become spectacle, and spectacle has become what generates more clicks. Dietrich Bonhoeffer observed, "Stupidity is a more dangerous enemy than evil, for evil at least can be fought. Stupidity is defenseless." But Bonhoeffer was writing in a context where stupidity was an obstacle to overcome. Today, stupidity is no longer an obstacle. It has become the paved road. It is not necessary to combat it because it perpetuates itself. Each stupid video generates more views, more monetization, more incentive to produce more stupidity, attracting more minds that were predisposed to it by the system itself. Collective intelligence does not collapse for lack of information. Information has never been so abundant. It collapses because the filter mechanisms have disappeared and have been replaced by systems that deliberately reward mediocrity. A generation is being educated through platforms whose only criterion for success is the number of views, not the intellectual value, not the factual accuracy, not the depth. It is a generation that is learning that the value of an idea is measured by the reaction it generates, not by the truth it contains. And in this environment, intelligence is a disadvantage. Stupidity is competitive. Celebrity has always been a construction. But there was a crucial difference between previous generations. It was necessary to do something to become famous. An actor needed demonstrated talent. A musician needed to be able to create music. An athlete needed to win. Fame was a consequence of an achievement. Unfair sometimes, but at least attached to something tangible. Today, fame has become decoupled from any achievement. You can be famous simply for being in front of a camera with consistency. The less you have to say, the more attention you receive, because attention without substantial content generates less antagonism. People who say meaningful things generate debate, criticism, rejection. People who say nothing generate only indifference. and indifference goes viral perfectly when packaged as entertainment. The new hero is not the one who creates, discovers, or transforms. It's the one who can hold attention without offering anything in return. The more empty, the more adaptable the emptiness to the desires of the audience. An empty figure is a blank canvas that each person projects their own fantasies. A figure with content is a figure that confronts, that does not mold, that demands thought. And here's the absurdity. While this is happening, those who really have something to say, who really created something of value, who really transformed their fields, often remain invisible. Not because they are inferior, but because their complexity does not generate engagement in the algorithm, because their depth does not fit in 15 seconds, because their teachings require thought, and thought does not go viral. Society no longer admires wisdom. It admires those who can entertain their own misery with style. The influencer who shows their empty life, their purposeless existence, their consumer-based mentality. This is celebrated, not because people consciously chose to value emptiness, but because emptiness is what is constantly being offered, what is optimized by the algorithm, what is being monetized. You are living in a society where ignorance has become a type of social capital. Not being well informed is acceptable, it's relatable. Being deeply ignorant while flaunting it is admirable, it's authentic. Constantly learning and articulating the learning is boring, it's too boring for the screen. The idolatry of ignorance is not a moral judgment about people. It is a structural consequence of a system that rewards what does not require cognitive effort from those who consume. There is a reason why power structures no longer need explicit censorship. Not because they gave up control, but because they discovered something more effective: voluntary distraction. A distracted population does not need to be silenced. It silences itself by becoming so engaged that there is no cognitive energy left to question anything beyond the next trend. Entertainment functions as a political anesthetic. While the public dances, laughs, shares idiotic videos, and participates in performative challenges, structural issues remain untouched. The system no longer oppresses through visible repression. It oppresses through the infinite offer of fun. It is more effective because it does not generate resistance. There is nothing to fight against when you are constantly being rewarded for not fighting. The mechanism is perfect in its simplicity. It keeps the level of anxiety high enough so that people constantly seek the next dopamine stimulus, but never lets that anxiety turn into political action. The attention that should be directed towards understanding systems of exploitation is redirected towards understanding the latest drama of an influencer. The anger that could turn into mobilization is dispersed in tweets about celebrities. It's not a conspiracy orchestrated by a group of people in a room. It's something much more elegant. A system where the incentive is aligned with distraction. Platforms profit from screen time. Content creators profit from engagement. Advertisers profit from captured attention. The entire value chain is built on your distraction. Therefore, all nodes of the network naturally work to distract you more. Meanwhile, reality continues to happen. Power structures consolidate while you are outraged about nonsense that will disappear from the timeline in 24 hours. Inequality perpetuates while you consume content about how to be successful within that inequality. Political manipulation occurs through narratives that you don't even notice because you are too busy sharing memes. Collective laughter has become the sound of surrender. It is not the laughter of someone who understood a deep truth. It is the laughter of someone who was sedated and interpreted sedation as freedom. Society is not sleeping. It is being lulled to sleep. And the most brilliant thing about this strategy is that you pay for your own sedation. You finance the platforms that distract you. You dedicate your valuable hours to content that leaves you with nothing but one more reason to come back tomorrow. Every modern entertainment structure is designed with one fundamental goal: to remove the need for you to think. It's not a side effect, it's the central feature. Thinking is slow. Thinking is inconvenient. Thinking generates doubts and questions that harm engagement. Much more effective is to offer ready-made, chewed, edited thought, optimized to be consumed without cognitive effort. The entertainment industry does not sell pleasure. It sells submission. And submission is sold as freedom. You are free to consume anything that the algorithm chose for you. You can scroll infinitely through a menu that was carefully constructed to appear infinitely varied. but that follows an immutable pattern. More of the same, slightly remixed, continuously rewarding. Here is the real cost that no one wants to admit. Every hour lost in front of a screen is an hour stolen from your ability to form original thoughts. Every pre-chewed content you consume is one less neuron connecting with neurons in unfamiliar patterns. Your brain is like a muscle. You develop what you exercise. If you only exercise rapid pattern recognition and dopamine firing, you lose the ability to think deeply. You will not notice this loss immediately. No one noticed when they started to become sedentary, until they could no longer climb 2 flights of stairs. Likewise, you will not notice when your mind begins to atrophy, until you find yourself unable to read a complex book, unable to maintain a deep conversation, unable to confront an idea that has not been pre-processed by an algorithm. The generation that is growing up now is being formatted to confuse freedom with distraction. Real freedom requires responsibility, requires the ability to deal with boredom, requires saying no to constant diversions. Distraction requires only clicks. The confusion between these two things is the worst gift that the entertainment industry could have given to civilization. But the worst thing is that you know this. You feel it when you have wasted too much time. You know that guilt when you close the social network and realize that an hour has passed and you don't remember anything you saw. You have experienced that anxiety when you try to read something complex and discover that your attention has disappeared after 2 paragraphs. You have observed this in yourself, and yet you continue to return because the structure is too well designed to be irresistible. The price of fun is not paid in money. It is paid in fragments of your capacity for agency. With each passing day consuming optimized entertainment, you become a little more dependent on someone thinking for you, a little more unable to generate original value, a little more prisoner of preferences that were implanted in you without your conscious consent. And when you finally wake up, if you wake up, you will discover that years have passed, just consumed. The life you had the capacity to live was transferred to the screen, converted into data, monetized, and you received in return nothing but the illusion of being alive while only dispersing yourself. This is the real economy of modern entertainment. You provide your mind, your attention, your years. In return, you receive the anesthesia that you enjoyed while receiving. Before we say goodbye, how many hours a day are you in fact handing over your mind to be processed? If this reflection touched something in you, type in the comments, "I woke up." Don't forget to share this content with those who still believe that their mind is still theirs. Activate the bell and subscribe for more philosophy that bothers instead of lulling to sleep. Until the next video.